Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Kajillionaire. Kajillionaire is a 2020 comedic crime drama that follows a family of con artists, parents, and their only daughter who has spent her entire life learning the ways of the streets. However, on an unexpected trip, they encounter a young woman who agrees to come along and be part of their next big take in. And she begins to change their lives in ways they didn't expect. Billionaire was a Sundance darling. It debuted at the opening year film festival and took audiences and critics alike by storm. As per usual, I didn't bother to look at the trailers or really dive too far into what this movie was even about, but it sounded interesting. It got a lot of buzz. So of course, I was more than happy to check this out. And ultimately, I'm very mixed on Kajillionaire. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. The biggest positive for me is our performances because I think all of the actors in this film do a wonderful job. Certainly, the standout is our lead performance from Evan Rachel Wood, who is who is tasked with bringing a very strange and awkward person to life, and she does it beautifully. The vocal choice, the mannerisms in which she behaves, the way she walks, it all is really interesting but really good. Gina Rodriguez is also really wonderful in this film. She is so charismatic and enamoring throughout. You are just drawn to her presence and can see why this family would be drawn to be around her, would be hooked on her finger, if you would. Richard Jenkins as the father is really odd as well. All of the family members are very odd. But it works. It works for all of them. And then we have Deborah Winger, who plays the mother, and she is fantastic. She is really giving a not only odd, but deep and layered performance to go along with the oddities. She really shined throughout as well. She also has some weird, like, physical acting she does that works wonderfully for the character, but all of our main cast are great. I also think the film has a lot of shining moments. There are a lot of elements at play in this film, and honestly, that's where the downfall comes in, so we'll talk about that momentarily. But it really does all of those well, and you can see the hope and the potential within each different thread that the film has to offer. The idea of this Khan family pulling off a heist to pay their rent is wonderful, and I would have loved if we had mostly stayed in that vein. But we veer off into other types of films as we move through. This is certainly a coming of age story, and so much of that works really effectively, and so much of that works well. It's a film about family and relationships, and so much of that works really well. And then it's just a really absurd comedy, and that has the potential to work really well. So all of the ingredients for something special are here, just didn't quite gel into that next level for me. But again, especially when we're focusing on this family who is just scrounging left, right, and center, refusing to do any sort of work, but would rather kind of skate by on their cons, is really good. Down to the things that they do to steal or take, the scraps that they're willing to pick up and go with. The script is really good in terms of dialogue and the character work, because I do think all of these characters feel in character the entire time. Now, where they go sometimes, particularly our main character played by Evan Rachel Wood, but as a whole, I think the character work, I think the writing for the characters was pretty strong. And the direction was nice too. It's a well put together film. So then, what doesn't work so well when it comes to Kajillionaire? Well, I kind of mentioned it quite a bit in my positives, but there's just too much going on here. The main theme is this family that we follow who is running cons, and when we are in that pocket, it works best. When we start venturing out into other pockets, other things, they are okay, but they do more of a disservice to the film rather than building it up. And I think part of that is because the other threads that this film relies on are heavily character based and character driven. And this is too much of a surreal, out there, not believable type of movie that it's hard to go on this coming of age story or this romance subplot or this family dynamic because, for the most part, the characters are just so out there. Old Dolio is literally the name of our main character, and there is a turning point in her character arc, and after that, it kind of fell apart for me, honestly. Right up until that point, I was loving the development we were getting with her, and then it completely switches into this very strange, very surreal, out there type of storyline, and I was not on board. And even that dynamic she has with Gina Rodriguez as they have this budding friendship throughout the film, it gets taken too far and we get into this really weird territory. And that's what the film does often. It just pushes everything right over that edge that takes it from effective and powerful. We go from these really sweeping, great emotional moments to ridiculous. And I think it's just a personal taste issue, but I would have much preferred if we just took it right to the edge instead of jumping all the way off. And this film continually takes it to the edge and then leaps right on off, and it loses me every time it takes that leap. Plus, the ending message doesn't stick for me because the third act of the film depends on this kind of surreal take that kicks us off. But then the ending ultimate message defies that. It doesn't stay in line with that and instead leaves you with a bit of a muddled closing message to the film. So it didn't really work for me or hit as intended. Overall, Kajillionaire had a lot that I really enjoyed. There's some great moments. There are even some of the weird stuff that I thought to be charming, but it just takes everything too far, to a level that pushed this film past what could have been more profound, more emotional, into too absurd for my liking. Couple that with a muddled closing message that doesn't stick the landing, and I think Kajillionaire is definitely worth a rental. I don't think you need to see this one in theaters, but once it is out at a regular rental price, it's certainly one to give a watch. So that is my review of Kajillionaire. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Kajillionaire? Have you even heard of this one? Or have you already seen it? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!